She may be triggered by losing her problem set again. Okay. We're gonna go over the word problems. Unless there's one from from 1 through 5 that you've encountered that you're really stuck on that you want to go over. I'm glad to go over. We got time to go over like at least one if you want.
Let's do
4D.
4D. Sure.
5. Somewhere around 5.
No, 4D. 5.
Okay.
Zarita has just seconded your motion, so that's
Not everybody with a date on it.
Yeah, but like I don't know how to Google Graph. That's my problem.
I heard someone mention a graph. You're gonna have an awfully hard time graphing this. Okay, it's not impossible, but you'd have to. I would say understanding how to graph this is certainly at least one step of complexity above just solving it using algebra. So let's just solve using algebra. It's also a good example of how you can solve something without graphing. The graph's very helpful when it is a viable root, but on this one, I'm thinking of an E word. Elimination, okay? Because look at that. If this equals 0 and this equals 0, if I add this plus this, right? Those y squareds are going to cancel right out. And I'm going to have x cubed minus 5x equals 0. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay? Solving this, at this point, I hope solving something like this is fairly easy. If not, don't worry. Hope it's not lost, but try to, through practice, hopefully you've seen enough of these. Okay, so what are the 3 solutions to this? 0. Plus or minus root 5. Okay, great. Okay, so now you have to say, well, I have 3 potential x values. Stress the word potential because they might not necessarily all work, right? If we go up to say like this equation and go, well, according to this equation, the y value squared has to equal 5 times the x value, right? Everyone okay with that? Okay, so that means that whenever I have a potential x value, my y value should be plus or minus the square root of 5 times the x value. Still okay with that? All right, let's try out. We got to kind of look at both of these simultaneously. Can x be 0? Does that work?
No.
Yes. Sure. If x is 0, y just has to be 0, right? So that's one of our solutions. Kind of a trivial solution. Trivial just meaning like it's just not that interesting. Okay, 0, 0, sure. 0 minus 0 equals 0, and 0 plus 0 equals 0. Okay. The next ones are a bit more interesting. So can x be the negative square root of 5? Can x be negative? No.
But it can be the positive.
Right, so let's first eliminate the negative one. So x cannot be negative because if x was negative, you'd have y squared equals a negative number, right? That doesn't seem possible, right? So x can't be negative. And what that means is that x hat can only be the positive root 5. Now we can kind of direct our attention down here and say, well, let's say x is positive root 5. What's the y value then? Well, put root 5 in there. What does it mean? The square root of 5 root 5.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right? I'm not saying that that's the most, easy number to wrap your head around, but surely you agree that if I replace the x with root 5, the number can be read like that, right? Don't sure. It's just a matter of replacing the x with what we know x is. So, but here's the last step. This says that if x is positive root 5, y can also be the opposite of 5 of the square, or how do you read this? Root 5, maybe? The square root of 5 root 5. So there you go. By the way, for any of you lit savages out there that are like, is that really the way you write that number, the square root of 5.5? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with writing it that way. There's another way to write it though, because you could go, so 5 times root 5, and the whole thing's square rooted. So really what you can think of that as 5 times 5 to the 1/2, all to the 1/2. And so 5 times 5 to the 1/2 would be 5 to the 3/2. And so actually you can write this as 5 to the 3/4, which is the 4th root of 5 cubed. Yeah, that's pretty right? That's pretty GameStop hitting $400 by the end of the day today, right?
Yeah.
Right, fellow GameStop shareholders? What, Alethea?
What is happening with GameStop?
Short squeeze.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
GameStop stunk. It's stonking.
Stop, Alethea. I get it. If you're-
Alethea, how many? Oh, whoa. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry, we need to pause class for a second. Bruh,
They go down?
okay, look at this. Do you guys know the word volatility? That's the word of the day today.
Yeah.
Volatility. Volatility.
Yes. Dangerous.
Okay. Look what?
If you set up a Robinhood account right now, it says, warning, the market is volatile.
Look at this. Okay, so this, I'll show you the last. Here you go. This is for you, Alethea.
Thank you.
Here's the last. Let's go look at a year. Have you ever heard of the company GameStop?
No.
They were a year ago, you could buy one share of GameStop for about $4, $3, $3.50, $3.50. So say you bought 1,000 shares, it would have cost you about $4,000. Okay, and all of a sudden, a few days ago, it shot up $347. So how often does something multiply by 100 in value? Not very often. And here's just very crazy things happening right now. Today, though, look at this. This morning, it opened at 263 apparently, or opened at 265 according to this on NASDAQ. Up. Oh, pretty promising. Hits 469 for a moment at 10 a.m. This is Eastern time, by the way. But then it plummets down. Oh my goodness. It plummets down to 126, and that was just in an hour and 20 minutes. Then it re-stonks back up to 308. And that took what? An hour, 50 minutes? I think that was 50 minutes. 50 minutes. Think of you, okay, if you had somehow bought at this price, say you bought 1,000 shares, you just made roughly $200,000
Wow.
in 50 minutes. Then it de-stonks back down to like 217. Oh, that's pretty frowny face. And then all of a sudden, right, this happened about 2:10. It hits 492 for a short moment in time. It hits 492 and then de-stonks back to 227.
That's like
In
5 minutes.
That's literally 5 minutes. Yeah, that's 210. That's 215. Yes, Seth.
Can I quickly invest in it real fast?
You can. No, it's actually fascinating stuff. I don't want to get into all the details. It'll take a long time to cover it, but
Steal money from the rich.
well, this actually is a result of like regular people, people like you and me, kind of putting the squeeze on these huge multi-billion-dollar hedge funds in Wall Street, but a lot of the companies that actually operate the trading, like Robinhood, they had to be like they're doing some market manipulation to kind of try to stop this from happening. But anyway, so.
I think it's funny of how the hedge funds were kind of just treating GameStop and all of the other like smaller things they can short kind of as a game to make money in the long run, and now they're like millions of dollars in debt because people finally figured out that the economy is just a game, and if you play the game the right way, you can step on a lot of people.
Well, yeah, it actually is ultimately a result of they shorted over 100% of the stocks that were available in the market, which you actually shouldn't really be able to do that. I think it's technically, maybe it's illegal, I'm not sure, but anyway. If a stock's out there and 50% of the stock gets shorted, that's like pretty bad, but it was like 135% or something got
Some
shorted.
dude is gonna make like 200K in like.
Dude, a guy put $50,000. A guy in Reddit put on $50,000. He got $12 calls, meaning that gives you a contract, the right to buy. One call would give you the option to buy 100 shares at that price you agreed to. So he had $12 calls. He had 1,000 of them. That's 100,000 shares. If you have the right to buy shares at $12 a share, and you can sell them off at $260, that's a lot of big monies.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So anyway,
Any money.
apparently he turned his 50,000 into 11 million.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Okay.
11 million.
11 million.
That is a bonkers amount of money.
The stock market, lots of maths. You could go into that field, and I mean the amount of mathematics that goes into this stuff is totally crazy.
It's like Minesweeper.
That's like playing the bomb cloud and then black blunders every piece.
That is kind of, it's
Okay.
kind of the sodium attack and then winning.
The Sody Pop attack?
The sodium attack is the most goated.
Yes.
The Sody attack. Okay, we are going to do some word problems now. Are we ready, spaghetti? What? What'd you say?
I said I think you should watch that go. Okay, so say you got GameStop stonks at 2 p.m., right? How much, like, you would probably make big league money between 2 and like 2:30.
If you somehow bought 100 shares right here,
Yeah,
and then we're somehow able to sell them at that price,
yeah,
we're talking like,
so fast.
there's actually a lot of interesting stuff you can read about how like a lot of trading firms try to get as close as they could to the exchange because they wanted their fiber optic cables to be as short as possible because they're running cables into the exchange and having like a, what?
We don't know. Keep going.
Having like a 10 microsecond advantage, maybe milliseconds, maybe with microseconds. But anyway, having your wire 50 yards shorter than the other guy gave you a little bit of an advantage in like super fast
Oh my
trading.
God,
So
that's crazy.
there was a whole, you can read up about that. Anyway, this one company tried to make their own stock exchange that like negated that advantage. So there's like, they put a delay on every trade. It's pretty interesting stuff. Because guys, the two big exchanges are the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. Right. Ready, Alethea?
Yeah.
Okay. Farmer Bob. You know what's really lit? Farmer Bob trying to determine how many moo cows and chickens he has. Okay? Farmer Bob. He looks out into his field. He counts. He has chickens and cows, only two types of animals. He counts 130 legs. And he counts 40 heads. 6. Okay. This is going to bring you back to the good old days. A simpler time in your life before you could drive a car.
Why couldn't it have been like cows and pigs? Because they all have 4 legs.
That would render this question impossible, I'm pretty sure. Because there'd have to be 160 legs.
Why couldn't it be cows?
Huh?
Why did it have to be cows and chickens? Why couldn't it be just cows?
That's more of like a first grade problem where you say, Farmer Bob has cows. He goes out and counts 40 cow heads. How many cows does he have? 40! Yay! And I say, good job, you did it.
Yeah, why are they in legs? That's not right.
And why would you count the legs?
It's an egalitarian farm.
Why would you count the legs instead of just counting the animals?
I know that it is it's an absurd problem, but the point is to show you a principle. It's a principle that you can apply to a wide variety of problems. You would typically see these kind of problems on something like an ACT or maybe like a college placement exam, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's get into it.
700 Walter Williams.
The idea is you write an equation for cows and you write an equation for the chickens. I got ahead of myself. You make 2 variables. X is the number of cows. Y will be the number of chickens. You get it? Yeah. And then you write 2 equations. One equation will be about the heads, and one will be about the legs. So what are we talking about? Every chicken has one head, every cow has one head, right? So the head equation would be the number of cows plus the number of chickens equals
40.
40, right?
Just 40.
He counted 40 heads, so there's 40 total animals, right? And then the number of legs. Okay, well, each cow has 4 legs, so 4 times the number of cows that's how many legs you did count from cows, plus 2 times y, and he says the total number of legs he counted was 130. Okay, so there you go. So this, yes, silly question, but the idea is to get you to think about how do you assign your variables correctly, and then how do you write the equation to like reflect the given information. So then what do we do? Let's do elimination. Yeah, multiply this guy by 2 or -2, whatever you want. I'm just going to multiply it by 2 with the intent of subtracting my equations. Right, because if this equals this and this equals this, then logically this minus this is equal to this minus this. So let's subtract them. What do you get if you take this and subtract away this? What's left over? 2x.
2x.
You feel okay about that?
Yeah.
And what do we get if we take this and subtract this? 50, which means x is 25. And then getting the y value from that is pretty easy, right?
40 minus 25. 50.
Very good.
Let's go.
Let's go. Epic gamer moments. Gamers rise up. Okay. Feel okay about that?
Yeah.
All right. So I think so all the other 3 are just like this. They're going to be a linear system. They're wink wink. These are all linear. The next page is not linear. So we're going to let's do what's it?
So it's down to 245. USD.
Whoa.
Whoa.
It went up
Pounds.
$2.
Can we like put our class money together? Everybody buy, donate $10. How would that give us?
So here's one that's you can actually buy fractional shares nowadays. You can buy like 10% of a share of Amazon, for example.
How much is an Amazon share?
It's trading at like 3,000-ish right now.
Wow.
So the size of the share price is not, I mean, some companies just don't have that many shares out there, so their share price is really high. Some companies are massive. Like a share of Berkshire Hathaway is only like $200, but that's because there's a lot of shares. That's a huge company. Anyway, same with like Walmart. I think a Walmart share is not, like Costco share is not very much either. But for some reason, Amazon, there's not a ton of shares out there. But I mean, it is the biggest company in the world. 3,000 a share.
Can we buy a Target stock?
I think that's how they trade it.
Ooh, Costco's driving.
Trade at 184.
Ooh,
That's a little scary
why? Is that good?
because the economy is in terrible shape. The stock price just keeps going up. That's a little scary, isn't it? Okay, last one today, guys. So number 7 is they're all gonna be nonlinear. So let me show you what I mean by that. We'll do 7b as an example. 7b. This says a rectangle has a perimeter. So let me just skip ahead on this question. It says find the dimensions. So what are the dimensions of a rectangle? There's a base, and there's a height, right? So we're going to set up a system of equations. The first thing says the perimeter is 12. So how do I relate these 2 variables to that sentence?
Plus 2.
Very good. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
You can understand? So the first thing said the perimeter is 12. So I can write, you agree with, because the perimeter is B plus
Yeah.
B plus H plus H.
Yes.
Oh, I see, 'cause it's like two B's.
Yeah.
I see.
Then it says the area is 6. So how do I write that?
B equals 6.
Yep. E times H equals 6. So now hopefully you look at that and go, oh, this is just it's nonlinear, but it's just a system. And we've been solving those for a couple days now, right? It kind of reminds me of like number sort of like number 2B, kind of like number 3C, a little bit like one of those. So let's solve it. Should we do substitution or elimination? Yeah, elimination is not really an option here, unless you want to get really sneaky. But so we can solve, say, this guy. Will everyone be mad at me if I just go straight to this? Or are we okay with that? Well, it's okay. Cheyenne, you want me to do it the other way?
Yeah.
Sure, here you go. I don't want to get a bad Yelp review. Here you go, Cheyenne, just for you, because you're worth it.
All right, thanks.
There you go.
I don't have the rings.
Whew. Crisis averted.
Exactly.
Crisis averted. Okay, so now every time I see a B, I can replace it with a 6 minus H. That's pretty neato burrito, right? So now this reads 6 minus H times H equals 6. Do we feel okay about that?
If you substituted it back into the first one, then you would just have addition. Right?
True. Well, if you sub that back in there, it would just read, you'd end up with 12 equals 12 after you combine like terms.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So, if you as you go into like higher level math, it's bound to happen to you. You're trying to solve this complicated system, and you'll be like, it's hard to keep everything straight. And then you get to a point where you're just like, this just says 1 equals 1. Like, what is x equals x? What is going on? It probably means you at some point went back, you did like a circular plugin. But okay, so what does this say? This says 6h minus h squared equals 6. Okay, and I'll, just because you guys are worth it, we'll finish the problem with you, even though by now this question should be relatively simple for you. But let's make sure we're all. Maybe we'll do it your favorite way.
Complete the
Complete
square.
in the square.
No.
Okay, I moved everything over to the right-hand side because I wanted my h squared to be positive. That makes my life easier. And then I say, man, this is awfully close to being h minus 3 squared, because half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, which means this guy really wants an extra 3. So now the left side is a 3, and the right, what was that whisper?
Nothing.
Okay. So now this right side is h squared minus 6h plus 9, which is more simply written as h minus 3 quantity squared. And so my answer is square root both sides and add the 3 over. It's kind of a weird number, right? 3 plus. Now, wait, by the way, those are the two h values that are possible. How do I get the b value?
Plug it in.
You got to plug it in. So we got to go 6 minus. So, okay, so let's say, what if h is 3 plus root 3? What's the b value that goes with that? Well, think about 6 minus that.
3 plus.
So Rita, You okay?
Oh my god, why are you looking at me like
Okay, so if you went 6 minus 3 plus root 3, what you'd have is 6 minus 3 minus root 3. Now likewise though, if you check the other h value, this is the part where you're kind of like, okay, well what if h was 3 minus root 3 though? Well then b would be 3 plus root 3. So then you kind of reflect on that answer, you go, oh, so you're just saying the base and height could be swapped, effectively.
So it's a square.
It was a rectangle.
Just gonna end the video. Video ended.